So, hello and welcome back to War Thunder. Here on my channel today we take a look at the BF-109 K-4, the final variant of the famous 109 series of fighters to enter service. The 109 K-4, K standing for Kurfürst as it is most oftenly called, was another attempt to standardize production and commonality within the 109 series. As you may recall, there were many 109 variants, and some of them were built in parallel with each other. In order to achieve better commonality and standardize the production, as well as to save on strategic raw materials, the development of the K4 started. Um, this was started in 1943 already, with the first aircrafts reaching Luftwaffe units in the end of 1944, around November. And this was the last variant of the 109 that was produced till the end. The 109K4 is you could argue that it is basically an improved and more standardized G10. G10 and K4 are very similar. They were also built in parallel with each other for some reason. And the easiest way to distinguish the two is basically with these main landing gear doors and the fully retractable tail wheel. The K4 was the first 109 to have a retractable tail wheel since the F4, and even in the F4 it wasn't fully retractable. This aircraft had a completely retractable undercarriage, completely covered by doors, which certainly helped in reducing parasite drag. Taken over from the J10 were also the more bulbous cowling, which negated the use of the so-called boilen you see on the G6 for the 30mm MG131s. This also further improved the aerodynamics of the aircraft. It also took the Erlerhaube, sometimes erroneously called the Gallanthaube, which was also fitted to the G10, some late G6s. This was basically an attempt to better increase the visibility of the 109s, since the early 109s from the F and early G series, they still had the so-called birdcage type canopy, and the more bulbous Erlerhaube certainly helped in improving visibility for the 109. Now, the K4 was intended to receive the Daimler-Benz DB605L engine, which basically is an engine with a regular DB605, but with a two-stage supercharger compared to the regular DB605's single-stage supercharger. I still need to learn about the supercharger system of the 109. Apparently it's a very interesting and advanced system, but I still haven't gone around to really learn about it, how it completely functions. What I know about the system is that the 109 K4 had 3 or 4 different engine types. As we just said, it was intended to get the 109, the Daimler-Benz 605L engine. However, that engine was not available since its production facilities and prototypes fell victim to a bombing attack. And only some of the very late K4s apparently even got the DB605L with its advanced two-stage supercharger. The other K4s had 3 different types of engine, as I recall. The ASM, the DB, and the DC. All of these were intended to be able to use the MW50 system. And MW50 is German, stands for Wassermethanol, or water methanol injection. This was sprayed into the supercharger of the 109, cooling the engine and also reducing knock, thereby allowing the aircraft to run on higher manifold pressure, which, well, gave the aircraft more power. In general, the Germans had a lot of problems in producing very high power engines, especially towards the end of the war. The engines themselves weren't a problem even. It was actually fuel, since Germany had rather low-grade, low-octane fuel, especially compared to the Allies, which I think the Americans at one point late in the war they had 150 octane fuel. And German Germany's and especially Japan as well, their fuel was just much lower grade octane, which means the engines had less power output. The Germans attempted to solve this with the use of the MW50 as well as C-free synthetic fuel. With the, for example, the DB605, the DB605DB used the MW50 and the C-free fuel, but it could only engage one at a time. I think it could. No, I think it was. It could take the C-free fuel, but not engage the MW50 with it, because the engine just wouldn't just take it. With the reinforced DB605DC, which you see here, which is probably the best engine the K4 had, apart from the very last ones which got the L. It could take the C-free fuel as well as and run the MW50 at the same time, which gave the 109 K4 with the DC engine up to 2,000 horsepower, which really is astonishing. The regular 605, it has like 1,475 horsepower. So the use of the MW50 system at optimal altitude, combined with the better aerodynamics of the K4, you can really see why the 109 K4 is the fastest of all the 109 variants, with a reported top speed of 715 km per hour, with one prototype which had a special fin-braided propeller reportedly achieving 725 km per hour. The MW50 tank could be engaged for 10 minutes each before it needed to cool down, and I think the combined time the MW50 system could be operated was, I think, 20-25 minutes, if I remember correctly. So certainly for quite some time, especially if you consider that the 109 never really was an aircraft with much range, which you can see here. It basically only has that one single big fuel tank behind the pilot. Although, like with other G models, the 109 K4 could also be fitted with a drop tank or bombs, or under the wings with additional armament. Speaking of which, we have the 109 K4 is the first 109 which standardizes the 30mm Mk108 as its motor cannon. All the earlier ones, they have the 20mm MG15120, and as you can see, I also have equipped this with this gun. This is because the early K4s still had a 20mm weapon, and the later ones would receive the 30mm Mk108 as standard. But in game, the 20mm is just a better weapon. Additionally, it also carries two 13mm MG131 machine guns. These were large caliber machine guns which fire a rather short round with a big explosive filler, and we will talk a little bit about how to use this thing, how to use these guns when we talk about the aircraft in game. Additionally, the aircraft could carry two underwing gondolas with 20mm MG151s, which were not really liked by their pilots because it reduced the aircraft's maneuverability. The 109 throughout its life was a pretty agile aircraft, and reducing or improving the armament certainly added more weight, and the 109 K4 already was, at least compared to other 109s, a rather heavy machine, now weighing fully loaded 3.3 tons, which compared to other aircraft, however, is still rather light. With the fitting of the much more powerful engine and the MW50 system, the K4 had tremendous acceleration, astonishing climb rate, but its turn time was reduced from the earlier F and G variants. However, since German pilots preferred to engage in hit-and-run attacks, this was not seen as much of a problem. What was a problem, however, was the engine's torque and the narrow landing gear. As you may or may not know, the reason for the 109's narrow landing gear was a reason of transportation. We Germans, we love to transport stuff by rail, and the Germans love to transport stuff by rail as well. Tanks but also aircraft fuselages. And in order to fit the rail profile, because the wings could be detached for transport, the 109s had their landing gear mounted to the fuselage rather to the wing. While this is great for transport, it's not really good for taking off when you have such a high power engine. Especially inexperienced pilots, which there were a lot of in the last stages of World War II in Germany, when they took off, they often did not expect the aircraft's the torque of the engine, which resulted in the aircraft just yawing to one side immediately after takeoff, which caused a lot of accidents. The Spitfire has more or less the same problem as well. Another thing added to the landing gear is that the rear strut was taken out from the G10. It has this lengthened rear strut, which allows the 109 G10 and the K4 better ground clearance, and this was done to make it easier for the 109 to carry larger caliber bombs, because these aircraft were also used as fighter bombers. The K4 also took over the larger wheels from the G10, which is why it has these more bulbous fairings over the wings compared to the more triangular ones we see in the G6. Let's just have a quick look. You can see here, oh well, they're not triangular, but basically a half circle. And as you can see here, it has these more narrower wheels compared to the K4's much thicker ones. The 109 had a constant speed propeller, a 3-bladed one, although further K-series models, particularly K14, was expected to get a 4-bladed propeller. There is a lot of people ask why Germans opted for 3-bladed instead of 4-bladed propellers. It's a long discussion we could make, but suffice to say that it would generate more problems in terms of production than it would solve. Basically, you have to resynchronize the guns, develop new synchronizers, stuff like that. And if you have a war-torn economy like Germany had in 44, 45, you don't really have time for that. Which is why basically all the late war fighters still had 3-bladed propellers, even though they might have been able to benefit from 4-bladed ones. Now, what else is there to talk about? I think we covered most of the stuff. Oh well, yeah. They reached frontline services in late 44. They would operate until the last days of the war, with around 1600 K4s or 1650 being built. Funnily enough, Erich Hartmann, the biggest flying ace of all time, there is some debate whether he actually flew a K4. We know that one of his last aircraft was a G10 with a black tulip symbol on the front. Apparently, JG52 also had K4s, and there are some rumors that Hartmann scored his last victories with a K4. The name of Karaya 1, which is the name of basically all of his aircraft. But most sources claim that it was a G10 that he flew, and not a K4, with which he scored his last victories. So, I think that covers most about the history of the K4. I think we have everything covered, yes. We could talk a little bit about the variants, but the K4 is basically the only one to reach mass production. There were some prototypes of the K2 and the K6, I think. Maybe one or two, but even then, these are not really... They are not completely sure if these even existed outside of their specific designs. There were also rumors that the K series was intended to get the MK103, that the K4 had the MK103, or even 50mm MG154s replacing the 30mm, but these are false to my knowledge, since the fitting of the 50mm gun would have necessitated a major redesigning of the cowling and the bulkhead. And the 30mm MK103 was a very large and big weapon. It's unlikely it would have been fitted to the K4 ever, or indeed to the K series. Apparently the K6 or K8 was intended to have the MK103 as an engine cannon, but again, none of these were ever built, so yeah. Officially, from what I could gather, the BF-109 never carried the MK103. Now, let's talk about the aircraft in game now, shall we? The BF-109 K4 is the final iteration of the 109 family. It sits at the same BR as the G10 for whatever reason. Well, why would you take the G10? Because the K4 is actually much better. Basically all regards. Although I think the K4 is slightly heavier. Yeah, 5.7 BR. It sits in the tech tree, of course, in the 109 line, and is the final aircraft before you transition to the jet age with the ME-262. The K4 has very high repair costs, and it sits at a BR where it's a difficult BR, because you will see a lot of Ju-288s, shit like that, and these basically ruin your team. And your enemies you will encounter are pretty powerful. You can encounter a lot of the super props, stuff with the P-51H, the F-8F, and also a lot of Corsairs. Let me tell you, Corsairs will be your worst nightmare, because they're just everywhere. But, well, your biggest nightmare will probably be Spitfires, because the 109, you can't really do much if a Spitfire is behind you. There are ways to counter them, but it basically, the 109 K4 requires you to play more carefully than the F4. It still is a very powerful aircraft, and I have seen people claiming on the forums that the 109 K4 is just bad, it's just not up to the task, and I never had that impression. In my opinion, this is still a very powerful aircraft. It is not the best at its BR, but I think it is still one hell of an aircraft. And just for me, it's one of my favorite 109s to fly. And that's mainly due to the fact that this thing has such a ridiculous climb rate. There are not many aircraft in that BR that can outclimb the 109 K4. And this is why this thing can be incredibly good, because you can dictate when to engage. Now, let's talk a little bit about the modifications of the aircraft. What you want to get first. Stock, this thing is not very good. The belts are crap and its performance actually not that good. So you want to get the flight performance and belts as fast as possible. Skip the survivability mods. Get the 20mm gun as early as you can get. Either the radiator or the 20mm weapon. Because you will face a lot of enemy fighters, and the 30mm MK108 is not good against fighters, especially if you when you only have 65 rounds for the gun. So you want to get this thing as soon as possible. Then get the performance mods and the belts. The airframe you can take last. Another thing you want to get is the R4 modification, which allows the underwing gun pods, depending on your playstyle. The 109 K4 with its very powerful engine is one of the 109s that really benefit from can benefit from the fitting of the 20mm gondolas. Now, I think... Oh yes, let's talk a little bit about the skins, because this is an aircraft that has quite a lot of skins. You have one that you can get just by playing the aircraft and getting kills, which is the Jagdgeschwader 3 camouflage, and you get this for 400 kills. Then there's also the late paint scheme, which is actually a very beautiful looking skin, which the RLM-02 on the side. Then you also have the fictional Papagei-Staffels color scheme. 109s never carried that scheme, only the FW-190s. And then you have this historical skin, which is called, which is an 109 K4 with the nickname Emmy, which is actually really beautiful looking, but looks rather similar to the standard one. I actually prefer the standard one as well. I think it's the best looking of the bunch. I really like the scheme with the yellow and the green. This is, I think, from Jagdgeschwader 52. I think they had this kind of color scheme with the yellow and green band, if I remember correctly. Well, anyways. Let's see how this thing flies and discuss some tactics. Let's take it out for a quick spin, shall we? As you can see, full power, engaging the MW50 system. Even on the ground you can see that this thing accelerates rather quickly. Thankfully, we don't have the torque of the engine displayed here in the game. I haven't flown simulator battles, but apparently it is modeled there. Here in realistic, thankfully not. I mean, for me it would be a problem, but I guess a lot of newer players would get a nasty surprise from taking off with this thing. Anyways, as you can see, this thing is a beast at climbing. Look at that climb rate. Climbs like a rocket. And indeed, this is one of the main strong suits of the K-4. It's amazing climb rate. What you want to do is, after the start, you want to immediately climb up as high as possible, because altitude is key. It allows you to dictate the terms of your engagements, and there are very few aircraft that can match your climb. Unless you have the 20mm gun pods installed, I would advise you to not go after bombers. This thing is really more of an anti-fighter aircraft. If you have the gondolas, you can do it, but even then, enemy fighters should be your priority. FW-190s, Tower-152s, they can deal much more effectively with the enemy bombers, since they have more ammunition and more potent weaponry. One thing you can do is, of course, equip the 30mm Mk108 in the nose and equip the 20mm gondolas, which can be a nice combo, but I prefer either using the 20mm armament uniquely, so 3 20s and the 2 13s, or just leave it clean. The 109 K4 is fast, at least for 109. As we said, you will encounter a lot of super props that can match your speed easily. However, the 109 K4, even down on deck, it is a rather fast aircraft. You can easily get this thing over 600 km per hour at roughly 2,000 to 3,000 meters. It's also really good in the climb. This is basically the only thing you can use against Spitfires. Spitfires will easily outturn you. They are heavily armed, and they can, well, once they are behind you, you have only one option basically, and that is either to make them overshoot. Oh, you have 2 options. If you're good, you can attempt to make them overshoot, but usually just dive away. The 109 has tremendous acceleration and dive, and it attains high dive speed. As you can see, over 800 km per hour, and it can hold the speed on pullout comparatively well, and you can dive away from Spitfires. I wouldn't say easily, but this is your best chance of survival if facing a Spitfire. If you want to engage enemy aircraft, come in at high speeds, make quick ones, and use your superior energy. The 109 K4 is a 109 that the early 109s, they like to stay around 400 to 500. I think, in my experience, the K4 handles better at 500 to 600 km per hour. So this is a 109 that loves to fly at higher speeds compared to earlier 109s. As you can see, it's decently maneuverable. It turns rather well, especially with flaps. One thing the 109 benefits from, especially at low speed, are its leading edge slats. As you can see, These deploy at lower speeds. These help the aircraft stay in a turn for much longer, reducing the chance of stalling the aircraft at low speeds, which can actually really matter in low speed dogfights, although you shouldn't really do these, but in emergency situations this can be the change between getting killed or getting a kill. The roll rate of the 109 K4 is not the best, but acceptable. It's actually best at around, I would say, 500 kilometers per hour, 450 to 500. But don't expect any 190 level of roll performance. It has decent armament or ammunition count, 200 rounds for its 20mm gun, 600 for the 30mm. The trajectory of both of them is rather similar. They are both not really, they don't have the highest muzzle velocity, so these are not sniper guns, even though the guns are mounted centrally, which is a good thing. What you want to run is either the stealth belts for all of your guns, or the air target ones for the 20mm and the IAI shells for the 13mm, which gives you the best explosive mass. The 20mm MG151 of course fires the thin-walled Minengeschoss shell with its huge explosive filler, so only few shots are required to down any enemy aircraft. The 30mm are actually really good as well. I remember for the longest time in the game, the 13mm guns were just garbage, they didn't do anything. But since 1 or 2 years they are really powerful, and they should be. I mean, these fire explosive 13mm shells. This is a really powerful shell. Also, if you want to run the 30mm gun, the MK108, use the stealth or universal belt. You could technically also use the standard belt, since it basically fires the Minengeschoss exclusively. It just matters if you want to have traces or not. Now, the 109 excels in energy fighting, particularly the K variant with its very powerful engines. You can do climbs, spiral climbs. This is especially like the K-83. This thing excels when doing spiral climbs. Particularly when you lose flaps, you can tighten the turn, and just look at that. It stays in the climb rather well. Maybe not even as good as the K-83, but certainly good. And this is one of the main types of combat you want to engage with the 109. Avoid prolonged turning engagements. Avoid strict boom and zoom tactics, since the aircraft tends to lock up at high speed. A mix of energy fighting and restrictive dogfighting is best for the 109. If you have played the F4, it plays similarly, but with more of an emphasis on its energy fighting ability rather than its maneuverability. If you keep these factors in mind, the 109 K4 will be a rather pleasant aircraft to fly. Consider if your team is not full of Ju-288s. Yeah. Just look at that. You can really throw this thing around. Also, one important thing, you want to use your rudder. The 109 is a very sharp aircraft, as I like to call it. It really reacts well to input, but sometimes when you enter a turn, it just feels a little bit stiff. Then you just press the rudder left or right, and it just corrects itself. The 109 is one of these aircraft that really benefit from using its rudder. It also has good rudder authority, by the way, as you can see. It also doesn't tend to overheat that much, so you can really run this thing on web for quite some time. You also don't have the historic MW50 restriction, where you can only run it for like 10 minutes at a time, and then have to cool it down a little bit. Yeah. Landing the 109 K4 is not too difficult, but keep in mind that compared to early 109, because this thing has a higher weight, it also has a higher landing speed. down. And yeah, also the flaps take a while to deploy, since these are I think they are powered by this. Where is it? There's a small hand wheel there, and this is what's used to power the to drop the flaps down. Yeah, come on, come on. Whoop. Yeah. And that's it for the 109 K4. Let's hop into some gameplay. So, for our first battle here, we have the... well, it seems to be a slight up tier. I think we are at 6-0. The ubiquitous Ju-288s are of course present on our team, but we have a full team, so no, just 3 bombers and 3 fighters, so this should be more evenly matched. We are up against the Russians and the French, as far as I can see. We are taking the K-4 here out in a clean condition, so no gun pods. Taking advantage of the full agility of this plane. So let's see what we can do. Okay. There's an alien coming. Okay, we are also against the Japanese. This will be tricky. I mean, the Japanese on their own, you can engage them with 109 energy maneuvers quite favorably, but when they are together with the Russians or other aircraft, this could be a little bit trickier. Because once it gets down to dogfighting and you have a 0 coming in, you're screwed. Anyways, lots of I-225s. Okay, not going in. Let's loop around, try to get behind them, to have the element of surprise, opening fire, and there's our first kill. Oh, and quickly, oh yes, that's what I like about 109. The agility of this plane is really, it feels so sharp. It responds to input so well. I just love it. 2 very quick kills on 2 I-225s, and again we are using it, building up energy, making a high-speed dive. Let's go for the K-4. Yep, got him critical, and we are not sticking in, we're just going vertical. Let's see if I can bleed his speed somehow. Oh, holy shit! Yep, made that guy overshoot. Let's see. Oh, this could be beautiful. This could be a kill here. Yes, critical on the K-87. Unfortunately, not. I made that guy is able to finish him off. Whoa, this is not looking. All right. Keep. I need to keep aware of my surroundings. Okay, the K-87 is wounded. He be an easy kill, yeah, and he's for some reason coming after me. I mean, we got his oil tank, it seems, or maybe his engine. Oh, he's trying to snipe us. Let's be careful here. We should be able to easily beat him in vertical maneuvers. The K-87, it has a very powerful engine, but it's also pretty heavy. And he's damaged, so... Yep. Oh, no, I'm not engaging head-on. Yeah, we just have to climb up and loop around, bleeding his airspeed even more, making him a sitting duck for us. Because the K-87, it has a comparatively high wing loading for a Japanese aircraft. It's not that maneuverable, and it can't stay in those low speed maneuvers for the same amount of time as the 109 can. And that should be, yep, that's the next kill. Okay, who's next? Alright. Let's extend a little bit. And then loop around and come in. I don't want to engage these Japanese aircraft when I am below them. I want to keep the fighting conditions more favorable for myself, so there's that. Altitude is key in basically every aircraft. It's a huge advantage, but much more so in aircraft rely on boom and zoom and energy tactics. And the K-4 certainly is much better when employing these tactics than in a pure dogfight. As we will demonstrate here, we will now dive on this A6M. Look at how quickly this thing builds up energy. Again, he certainly noticed us, so we're not going to follow him. We're looping around and engaging him from above again. Let's see this. Not the best approach. He's already noticed us. Yep, breaking off again. Again, going vertical. Okay, is he gonna get him? Oh no. This might be my chance here. Now he's very low energy. Yep. Perfect. That should finish him off. I mean, it's a 0. It's very unlikely he puts the fire out with his non-existent self-sling fuel tanks. And there's our next kill. I think we're up to 4 right now. Alright. Still have plenty of ammunition, actually. Oh, there's a Spitfire. That's really... You don't want to be in this situation. You don't want to have a Spitfire above you. I should be faster than him, no boom. Full web engaged. MW50 kicking in. Yeah. Okay. I also need to keep an eye out for my fuel. When you engage web, this thing actually burns through its fuel rather quickly. I mean, the less fuel it has, the lighter it gets. But still, you want to have enough fuel left to head back to base. So let's maybe try getting a pass on that Spitfire or any other opportunity that presents itself, and then rearm or refuel. There's a K-83 up high. Shouldn't be that much of a problem for me, since he has 2 other aircraft to engage. But that Spitfire is looking pretty juicy, and right now I am above him. So it's our TAR 152 engaging him, okay. Let's cool our engine down a little bit. Probably needed that extra power when we are engaging the Spitfire. And we don't want to overheat. Now the LA9 is joining the fray, alright. That TAR 152 needs to look out. I mean, now this is rather even, 2 versus 2. I don't want to become this 2 versus 1. So I need to look out for my teammate here. Okay, let's engage the LA9. What is he doing? Oh, okay, I'll take it. But what was that? Did he lag out? I mean, he must have seen me. Holy hell! Just flew straight, and there's the Spitfire. Oh my! This could be. Yeah. Oh, I think that's a 6-kill match. Is it? I think that's 6 freaking kills. Oh, right. That's what I want to see. God, I love this aircraft. So, let's RTB. Oh, we might get another kill. Oh, wait, a K-83 just died. Killed by an F2G. So that's a very important plane taken care of in the enemy team. And we are bringing her in for a landing. Come on, bleed that airspeed, yeah? 109 really, the K-4 really doesn't like to bleed its airspeed, actually. It keeps its energy and speed very, very well. Gear down. And we're bringing in for a high speed landing. Over here, 200 kilometers. Ooh, yeah, okay. Should be fine. Or 170. Yep, perfect. Textbook landing. And we have achieved takeoff, and well, that's mission and game. So that was a pretty epic game, I have to admit. I think that's my new personal record in the BF1 and K4. I think I had a few ace matches before, but 6 kills? Never ever. Let's see those results. Oh yeah, not bad, not bad. I mean, this is of course with, yeah, I mean, just look at that. Top of the leaderboard by far. Oh yes. So here in our second match with the K4, we're here on the winter map, and we are in an up tier. There we are at least 6-0. So let's see, plenty of targets in the sky, some bombers. We do have the gun pods equipped this time. So let me quickly assess the situation here. We have bombers up high, a Spitfire in the distance, K-4s. We are against the Americans and the Japanese. Alright. F2G down low. Really want to eliminate that guy. But that zero up ahead is looking pretty juicy. And I don't really want to have any zeros above me. Oh. Okay, these are actually a little bit more inviting. There's an A7M, which is a very dangerous aircraft, and a Spitfire, equally dangerous. Need to get the right approach here. Don't want to come in too fast. Let's go for the A7M. Oh yeah, he's rather low in energy. Come on, yes. Quick and easy. Let's convert that. Oh wait, let's not convert that speed. Let's get this guy as well. Come on, come on. Yes. 2K of an F2G. That's 2 kills in quick succession. That's what I want to see. Okay, let's loop around. Flaps deployed. Yeah, the maneuverability of the 109 really takes a beating with these gun pods equipped, but they certainly are worth installing. It really depends on the playstyle you really want to fly this thing, because that extra firepower can really come in handy when engaging enemy bombers, or when you really have to get that kill, or in a close dogfight need those quick snapshots. Another A7M. Let's see if we can get this guy as well. Yup, I can. And that's 3 kills so far. Alright. And we begin at roughly 2 kilometers of altitude. You really don't want to fly the 109 close to the deck. You really want to have that extra breathing space to perform climb and dive maneuvers. Unfortunately, most of the enemies are above us right now, which is not really the situation we want to be in. 3 kills so far. Let's see if I can make it 4, possibly even get an ace. But we really need more altitude, which is why I'm gonna extend the distance to the main battle area right now and are climbing. Alright, that Spitfire is closing in. Well, they're busy with that 109. Tricky situation. They're still too close for comfort. That A7M up high is the main problem. I could engage the Spitfire with the help of that other 109 easily, but that A7M will just dive on us. Also need to keep an eye on my fuel situation. 109K, it tends to burn through its fuel rather quickly. So, alright. Now this feels much better to engage. Now the altitude advantage of them is not that big anymore. And while I do want to engage preferably with complete altitude advantage, these terms should be more acceptable. Let's see. Okay, only the A7M. That's great. Now I can start planning ahead for the dogfight. He is coming in. I need to try to make him overshoot. Come on, can I trust the help of my teammate here? Hopefully. Let's turn into his attack. And then, come on, yes, throw his aim. And that's great, because the A7M is terrible at high altitude performance. Oh, look at that! That was fucking close. Yeah, as I just said, the A7M is absolutely terrible at higher speed. But the 109 still maintains some sort of controllability. And I think I've damaged him enough that he's about to go down. Come on. Let's follow him in the dive. But yeah, he's not gonna pull out of that. I mean, the A7M is incredibly maneuverable at low to mid speed, but it locks up very hard at high speed. Great, that's 4 kills, and there's, I think, only the K-4 left. Let's get some AI kills as bonus. Kaboom. Come on. Yeah, got him. Let's rake in the points. Alright, my fuel situation is not looking that rosy. And again, I am at too low of an altitude to really engage. What to do? I mean, I certainly have the space to really plan this out. You know what? There are plenty of my teammates there. I think it should be rather safe to engage. If necessary, I can just dive away. But I do want to have just a little bit extra of altitude. 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. Okay. Or should I go for for landing? I'm not quite sure. You know what? Fuck it. No guts, no glory. Let's do this. He is coming our way anyways. And the team certainly needs the support, I think. Yeah. Let's do this. A good move by the LA9 trying to get him to lower altitude. Now the 1-9 might be able to actually get him. Ah, he's missed his chance. Ooh, dogfighting with a K-4 with the 109 is... could go either way. Both are pretty maneuverable aircraft. K-4 certainly is the more maneuverable of the two. Oh, he's coming away. No, we're not going head on.
The enemy is winning. We must counterattack.
Alright, let's take this into the vertical. He doesn't seem to want to engage. He's breaking off. Oh, yeah, it's best choice. I mean, he is... we have the numbers advantage on our side. Playing it cleverly. He's not dogfighting two at a time, and he does have the energy advantage right now. I mean, K-4 has tremendous acceleration out as well. I mean, that thing. Like, what was his power to weight ratio? 0.28. Certainly very impressive. Pretty light aircraft, very powerful engine as well. Oh, buddy, you made a mistake there. Now's my time to shine. Come on. Ah. I'm running low on ammunition, but I should be able to... okay, he's trying to throw my aim off. Okay, I need to make this quick. Our counter's running down. Come on. Yes, crit, and... Yes! Got him! Whew, and that's ace! Great. That's an ace in a day in the 109 K-4. Okay, but now I'm just running on fumes at this moment. Let's quickly head back to base and refuel. I just got him with my last remaining ammunition as well. Oh my god. Okay, now I need to trust my team to win this. The Spitfire is that Spitfire guy is good. He has 4 kills already. But I can't fight anymore right now. I need to get more fuel. Let's hope they can finish him off. Or the ticket counter will run down and we'll lose. I mean, not that I care too much about winning or losing. I'm just in there for the kills and the fun. I mean, for me, kills equal fun. I don't know. There are people that care about their win rates, but I don't personally. I count more on the KD. I figure KD reflects a player's skill much more than a win rate. I mean, you can get... Like the Spitfire guy, if he loses, he got 4 kills, but he still lost. And still, he did very well. I mean, if we lose, I got an ace, 5 kills, and we still would lose. If we're gonna lose. So, yeah. Win rates, in my opinion, don't really reflect a single player's skill that much. Oh, but that's just me. I mean, to each their own, I guess. So, we've put her down. We are in the process of rearming and refueling. Come on, make this quick. I don't think we'll win this. The ticket count is just... Nah. Yeah, and that Spitfire's up way too high. I'm not gonna get there in time to do anything about it, I think. Oh. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that will be a loss for us. Yeah. Oh well. Still, 5 kills, I certainly won't complain about that. But that's the sort of stuff you can expect with the 109 K4 if if you know how to fly this thing, it's a very rewarding aircraft. I don't know why people think that it's not good or it's overtuned. I think it's great. It just sees a lot of up tiers. That's the problem. But yeah, if you have a somewhat capable team, those results are certainly not. Uh, certainly can't complain about that. I mean, 6 kills. We got an AI kill as well. Top of the leaderboard. I certainly love this aircraft. I think it's great. So, and with that, we come to an end to this video of the BF-109 Kurfürst. It's a stellar performer in my opinion. I don't know what the people on the forums are on about with this thing being over-tiered or bad. In my opinion, it's a great machine. I am a 109 guy. I like flying 109s in general. And this right here, apart from the F4, might actually be my favorite one to take out. That engine power, that swiftness, and that lightweight and the sharpness of the thing, it really is. It's a joy to fly. It really is. And once you have gone down the BF-109 line and got a hang for how to fly 109s in general, you will feel right at home with the K-4 as well. It requires a little bit more of a restrictive, or let's say a more careful playstyle. You will need to choose your battles more carefully than in 109 F4, where you can just barge in, for lack of a better word. But still, with that powerful engine, you can fly maneuvers that you just couldn't do in an F4, and it really is a stellar performing aircraft, in my opinion at least. And it sits perfectly at 5.7. I don't think it should go down, I don't think it should go up. 5.7, this really is, this aircraft has a perfect BR in my opinion. So, that ends the video for the Kurfürst. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.